Hi. In this video, I'm talking about tailor's tacks, what I think is the most underrated fabric marking method. Tailor's tacks are a pretty old marking technique. I don't know a whole lot about the history, but I have seen them used as early as the 1800s, and I'm pretty sure they come from a long time before that. But they're mainly used in historical European tailoring and also modern tailoring all around the world. Why are tailor's tacks the most underrated fabric marking method? Well, in my opinion, it's because, one, they don't leave anything to clean up like chalk or markings of any sort, and two, you get symmetrically marked pieces for the right and left side of any pattern with the markings visible from both sides of the fabric. Okay, so long basting needle, cotton basting thread, thimble, and a piece of chalk. So usually when you do tailor's tacks, you're going to have a marking on one side of one of the pieces of fabric with either chalk or some other marking technique. I'm going to demonstrate on these two pieces of scrap fabric down, and then I'm going to draw out a design. Okay, so this is quite messy, but I've just drawn out a triangle with this little dart shape. To do the actual tailor's tacks, you're going to take your needle. I'm using a long basting needle and some cotton basting thread, but you could do this with any needle and thread. And then you're going to go in and do kind of large running stitches along the edge, but you're going to leave slack in the thread. So let me show you here. I did a big running stitch, and then I'm pulling it through and leaving a tail. And then I'm gonna go back in and back out. And this time I'm leaving a loop right here. So let's do that again. Make a running stitch and leave a loop. So your fabric is going to have all of these looped threads hanging off of it, and it's going to look pretty messy while you're doing this. So let me go ahead and do tailor's tacks around the entire perimeter of this piece. Now that our tailor's tacks are all done, and I do want to mention that if you're doing a long straight area, you can choose to leave some parts with no tailor's tacks and just assume that you will be able to know what that edge is. If you have a lot of detailed things, you may want to just go around every inch of the perimeter. But anyways, now what you want to do is push all of your little thread pieces to the middle so that they are not in the way, and then you're going to cut out your pattern piece. So now that this is cut out and we have all of our tailor's tacks, we're going to take the two layers and pull them apart. And you actually want to do this somewhat gently, but you want to make sure that there is no slack left in any of the threads, so not super gently. Once the edge is pulled and all of the slack is between the two layers of fabric, you're going to take a pair of scissors and snip the threads right in the middle. And then repeat on all of the sides. You'll notice at the top here, when you pull the slack out, this looks like a normal running stitch. So when you do pull these edges, you want to make sure that you're pulling all the way until both sides look like a normal running stitch. If you still see thread loops like this, it means you haven't pulled enough. And then for our little pretend dart over here, we're going to do exactly the same thing. And now, if you look at the bottom of this piece, we have the entire pattern marked out on this side in clean little running stitches, and then on this side we have all of these little threads coming out, but you can still see where those markings are. And same thing on this one. We have our original chalk markings, and then we have these little pieces of thread, and then on this side you see the threads coming out. So I absolutely love this marking technique, especially for things like darts. It can be very helpful to make sure that your darts are symmetrically placed. I've always struggled with marking darts, like having a pattern and then like peeling it up and trying to mark with chalk, and it's a whole deal. So marking things like darts and things that you really want to know where your seam line is, but you don't want to have a marker marking on all of your layers of fabric, this is really great. I will say this only works on 2 pieces of fabric at once. If you layer like 3 or 4 pieces, because of the nature of tailor's tacks, you're gonna like miss all of the middle layers and they won't be marked. So this does only work with 2 layers of fabric, but yeah, I still love it. And then of course, to take out your markings, all you have to do is pull out these little threads. And it's completely gone. You're left with no extra markings, nothing that needs to be ironed off or washed out or anything like that. So yeah. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something, and enjoy the rest of Cozy.